Hey guys, we are live here in the aviary today, surrounded by a lot of chirping and a lot of fun springtime noises, but we are going to be talking about rhinoceros hornbills, these amazing birds that you're taking a look at. So join us, tune in, let us know you're here, that you can hear us, you can see us, and once we get everybody in, we will start talking to our keeper, Carmen. So before then though, let's do a few shout outs. Let us know that you're here, and we're happy to have you guys joining us today. Once again, we are in the aviary, and we're going to be talking about these gorgeous birds that you're looking at. They're called rhinoceros hornbills, and we are inside the aviary, about the third, fourth exhibit inside the door, and it is gorgeous in here. It reminds you so much of spring, seeing all these awesome plants and hearing all the birds chirping. We're really loving it. So hi Grace, hi Theo, thanks for tuning in today. Hi Anne, hi Sophia. All right guys, we are going to welcome Dylan and Gage to our live feed today. You guys know we're doing these each weekday at 10:30 a.m. and we're moving all around the zoo. So we're trying to get a little bit of everybody's favorite going here. Hi Kenzie and Samuel. Hi Clifford, Cassie, and Joy Bell. Hi Athena and Kaden. Thanks for tuning in. Hi Tristan, good morning. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome back to our daily Facebook Live here at the Toledo Zoo. Today we're in the aviary talking rhinoceros hornbills. We're going to learn all about these amazing birds from our keeper Carmen in just a moment, but we wanted to remind you we are still doing our virtual classrooms with the education department. They are expanding their offerings. They have oh gosh, now I'm forgetting the name of it, but they're doing one about different animal groups and moving all around the zoo looking at exhibits. They're doing one for horticulture. They're doing a series on training your pet. So check those out. You can go to toledozoo.org and scroll down till you see educational tools, and you can check out all of those. We're also still doing meals on the go each Tuesday and Thursday. The menu for next week will be up soon, so you'll be able to get your orders in. And of course, we can't do any of this without all of you. We appreciate all of your support, you guys tuning in, donating via our link in the Facebook Lives, toledozoo.org/donate, and our Facebook fundraiser. So thank you so very much. We appreciate it. And we know everybody's going a little stir crazy, so we're trying to give you guys some different things to do each day. Check out our Facebook page this weekend for some more interactive activities. We've got another story time and another craft for you guys to check out. And we love to see them, so send us your final ones. It's very cool to see what you guys come up with. So now we're going to turn it over to Carmen, and she's going to tell us about these awesome birds.
Hey guys, I'm Carmen. I've been here for about a year now, and these hornbills are actually probably my favorite birds that I work with here at Toledo Zoo, so I'm very happy to talk everybody's ear off about them. We do have two. The one up front is our female. She's about 13 years old. You can tell that it's the female because her eyes are actually white, and she's a little bit smaller than the boy. Our boy is up top, and his eyes are actually a dark mahogany red color. And he's a little bit bigger than she is. He weighs about 8 pounds and she's only about 5. So even though they look like really big birds, they really don't weigh very much because it's a lot of feathers under there. In the wild, they are native to Thailand, Indonesia, and Asia. And these are rainforest birds. So they actually live in the canopies of the trees. So they are found at the very tippy top, and they eat almost solely fruit. So they don't have teeth, of course, so they actually swallow it whole, and they'll pick figs and other fruits that they find during the year right off the tops of the trees, mash it up with their beak if it's a little bit too big, and then they swallow it.
That's amazing. One of the most distinctive features about this bird is the orange on the top of their beak. Talk to us about what that is.
Yeah, so the most common question that I hear about these guys is, do they have two beaks? People wonder if that second part is some sort of mouth too, that if it opens up or not. And it doesn't. It's actually hollow on the inside, and it's actually made out of the same thing that your fingernails are made out of. It's called keratin. It's the same thing that their beak and also those big long toenails on their feet are made out of too. And it's actually hollow, like I mentioned. They think that it's hollow because it kind of acts like a sound resonator or a megaphone. So in the rainforest, there's a lot of trees. It's hard to hear things. There's a lot of things for sound to knock up against. So when they call, it doesn't really sound like a robin or a cardinal or a pretty songbird. It almost sounds like a bark. So when they call, it echoes off the trees and it echoes in that chamber off the top of their head. And then other birds and species can hear them farther away because of how loud it amplifies. It's called a casque. That's the fancy name for it.
Very nice. And Clifford wants to know how they got their name.
So, the rhinoceros hornbill. So rhino, of course, everybody knows what a rhino is, I think. So because they have one horn, that's where it comes from. Okay. Hornbill is the group of birds. There's about 40 species, I think, of hornbills. Don't hold me to that number exactly. But rhinoceros hornbills are one of the largest species, and because they have one big horn like that, that's where they get that name.
Very nice. Alicia asks, how old can they get?
So in captivity, the record is about 40. The average is about 35. In the wild, they would live to be maybe in their late 20s or 30s.
All right.
These guys, the female is 13 and the boy is 15, so they're about midlife, but it actually takes them about 6 to 8 years to have any babies. So they kind of have a long maturity rate.
Very nice. And Matthew says, is this the same type of bird as Zazu from The Lion King?
It is not the same type of bird, no. Although they're related, but no, they are not the same species, nope.
And you alluded to this when we first started, but Elias wants to know, do they have teeth?
They do not have teeth, no. Their beaks are very powerful, of course, but they do not have teeth.
And Rowan asks, what's the difference between these birds and a toucan?
So toucans, I don't have any toucans to show you on our aviary, unfortunately. But they are related again, but they're not exactly the same. Toucans eat fruit too. They swallow it whole just like these guys do, but they don't have that horn. So the hornbill is because of that casque on top of their head, and toucans don't have that.
Very nice. Joy Bell wants to know how many hornbills we have here at the zoo.
Just these two.
All right. And we have, as you said, one male and one female,
yep.
Ages 13 and 15. Mm-hmm. Do they have names?
They do have names. It is Keanu, which is the boy, and I believe that means moonlight or moonbeam. And I honestly cannot remember the girl's name off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's all right. Ashley asks, where are they from?
Where are they from? And so these two are in the wild. In the wild, they're from Asia, Indonesia, or Thailand. So it's a couple different places, but it's all rainforests.
And we always like to give the family shout outs. So we have a hi Carmen, it's Aunt Sherry. So hi Aunt Sherry.
Hello Aunt Sherry.
Adeline wants to know if they have really soft feathers.
They do. So their feathers aren't any different than other birds. Maybe not necessarily soft, the ones that you can see, but underneath and kind of on their legs, if you can see underneath her wings there, they have downy feathers, which are just like other types of birds, and that's what helps keep them warm when it gets chilly. Or when they get a little wet, it's what helps keep them warm. So those outer feathers are kind of sleek and stiff, and that's, of course, the feathers that help them fly. But the feathers underneath are very soft and fluffy.
And you mentioned earlier that in the wild they eat a lot of fruits.
Yes.
What all do we feed them here at the zoo?
So I can actually go in and toss them some fruit. Here we have two different mixes that have some pellets in it, and they also get a lot of fruit. Their favorites are grape, banana, and kiwi, but we'll give them papaya, we'll give them melon, we'll give them pretty much anything actually. We'll give them figs too, just like they eat in the wild. Strawberries, they aren't really big berry fans and they don't like citrus, but bananas and grapes are probably their favorite.
And how much food do you give them in a day?
So they actually get 7 cups of just the pelleted diet and then another 4 to 5 cups of chopped fruit. So it's a lot.
That is.
Yeah. But I can actually go in and hand toss a little bit.
Sure. As she goes in, we'll give a few more shout outs and then we'll get back to answering some of those questions, great questions that are coming in, guys. So let's go back and see who all we've got here. So, hi Kat and Lily. Hi Sue in Michigan. Hey Braylon, thanks for coming in. Hi Ellie. Yes, Jessica, Carmen is rocking it. She's doing really well for us today. We love this.
Thanks, Jessica.
Hi Pat, thanks for tuning in. Let's see. We answered Elias's question. Kathleen, they do have such an amazing look. They are really, really pretty birds, aren't they? So as you guys can see, Carmen is tossing them some fruit individually, making sure that each gets their fair share. And you guys can see that they are taking it and then they're tilting their heads back and swallowing it whole, just like she was telling us earlier. So we'll let you guys keep watching those, and we're going to toss a few more questions into Carmen here. Let's see, Carmen. You said you talked a little bit about their weight, but how tall are these birds?
So the male is a little bit bigger than she is, of course. So he is about 4-ish. I don't know the exact number. And she's about maybe 3.5. Their wingspan, though, is almost 6 feet. So he's bigger than her again. So her wingspan might be more like 4.5-ish, but the males can get as big as about 6 feet. So that's a really big wingspan.
Wow. And Olivia asks, how big can they get? Are these birds full grown?
Yeah, yep, they're full grown.
All right. Lily wants to know how fast they can fly.
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that one.
That'd be a good one to Google, huh?
They do, of course, and they're pretty territorial, so they do have really big expanses of territory in the wild, and they do fly. You might have noticed, well, he didn't really do it today, but they actually hop a lot, too. Their feet are really powerful. And since they live in the canopies, they'll actually do a lot of hopping. But yeah, I'm sure they can fly pretty fast, but I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, that's okay. Alexa wants to know how many babies they can have.
1 to 2. Yep. And actually, they actually have a really awesome nesting, I guess, strategy, you could say. They're not woodpeckers, of course, but they actually nest in cavities. So if you look in the back of the exhibit here in the corner, there's a big tree, and there's a couple different holes in it. And what they do is the female will actually go in the tree, and then they'll seal her in the tree, and she doesn't come out for about 50 days. So she lays the eggs hatch, and she depends on her mate to provide all the food, so she doesn't come out. And then when the eggs hatch, she continues to feed the babies, and then after about 40 more days, they all come out of the tree. It's a very unique nesting strategy.
That is very cool. Cassie wants to know if we have had any babies born here at the zoo.
No, we have not. We would love them to do that, yeah. We actually, they've been in this exhibit for about 3 years now. They were in a different exhibit before, and this spring we have seen a lot more nesting activity and kind of courtship rituals than we have before. So maybe next year if we're lucky, but they have not had any chicks. Nope, not yet.
All right. And Samuel, she talked a little bit about their wingspan. Anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
They're really big.
And Trina asks, what's on top of their beak? Tell us again about the casque.
Okay. So the extra thing on top of their beak that looks like it might be a second beak, it's called a casque. It's actually hollow on the inside, and you just saw the male was kind of knocking it against the tree there. They put a lot of maintenance in it to keep it nice and smooth and clean. And it actually starts off white too. So it doesn't, when they hatch and it grows, it's not colorful like that. It's actually just white. And there's an oil gland under their tail that they actually use to get that color. So the older they get, the more colorful and the larger the casque gets. But yeah, it's not a beak. It's hollow on the inside, and they use it to make their calls go louder so everybody knows where their turf is.
Very nice. And Alan asks, will they stay together for life?
Yes, they will. They are monogamous, so they will stay together for life. Yep.
Good morning, Linda. One of our zoo eds is tuning in today. Thank you. And Kenzie asks, what's their scientific name?
Oh, man. I don't know that off the top of my head either.
All right, we can check out the graphic over here in a little bit. We'll get back to you, Kenzie. We'll get back to that.
I would probably pronounce it wrong anyways.
Yeah, Latin is not my not my thing either. Lori asks, how often do they mate?
How often do they mate? So they have a pretty long breeding season. In the wild, of course, where they live, it's a pretty tropical climate, so to speak. So how long is their breeding season? I don't know exactly in captivity, but it's in captivity they've actually bred year round in a couple different zoos. In the wild, it's probably about 4 months.
Okay.
When fruit is most abundant, really.
And Sue asks, are they endangered?
They are not endangered right now. They're classified as near threatened. So one of the reasons why they are losing numbers in their population is because of deforestation, of course. These are big birds. They need really big trees if they're going to nest in them in cavities like this. And the other reason is, unfortunately, because that casque is very pretty and it's considered valuable and also an ornament, so they are actually hunted also.
Sure. Alba asks, do they hurt people?
Do they hurt people? Well, if they don't want me to get really close to them and touch them, of course, but as you saw when I came in here, they left me alone. And yeah, in the wild, they don't attack people or anything like that, no.
And you also got a shout out from Mom and Dad, so the whole family's watching here today. That's awesome. Luke asks, how big are their eggs?
How big are their eggs? Well, when they hatch, they're pretty big, actually. I will say that. I've never actually seen one in person. I've seen fake ones, but not real ones, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but if you can picture like the size of an ostrich egg, it's maybe about a fourth of that. They aren't that big.
Okay. Josh wants to know, what kind of enrichment do you do for these birds?
So we have a mister system in their enclosure, which is a pretty big deal, of course. Because they're rainforest birds, it rains a lot, so you can't see it from where you guys are looking. But there is a mister system in here, and they actually, they're pretty destructive with those beaks. They like to mess around with things, and they like to stab things. So we give them paper mache sometimes, and actually even just foraging. So we'll hide their food in different items, even just boxes or paper mache items, and they really like to tear at stuff and forage for food.
Nathan asks, do they eat meat?
They actually can eat meat. It's not part of their regular diet, but they will eat small lizards and mammals if they can get a hold of them. Yes, they would.
Very cool. And Heather asks, why do they have 2 beaks? They don't actually have 2 beaks, so she's been telling us that top thing is the casque she was just talking about. It's an ornament on the top of their head that, as she said, helps them to put their call out further in the treetops of the canopy, so it lets other birds know where they are.
If you're ever in the aviary when we open again and you hear them, you can be on the other side of the aviary and you can hear the hornbills.
And
They're
you said
really
it's
loud.
more like a bark
yeah, it
than
sounds
a
more
tweet.
like a bark. It's definitely not a tweet or a chirp.
All right. We miss all of you guys too, and we can't wait till you guys can get back here. These are such beautiful birds. They ask, we've talked about their mating. Are these birds too old to mate?
Oh no, nope, not at all. Yeah, they can live to be about 35, like I said, in captivity, so no, they're definitely old enough.
And Emerson, age 10, asks, can they get poison ivy?
I don't know. I would assume not, just because most birds actually don't have actually any that I know of don't have a reaction to poison ivy. Those feathers, of course, protect them, but poison ivy isn't in their native habitat anyways, so they wouldn't really come in contact with it.
Daxton asks, what do they do when they get mad?
When they get mad? Well, I can tell when they're annoyed with me, if I'm getting too close and things like that. The boy will kind of just open his beak at me, and it's just a threat. He doesn't really fly at my face or anything like that, but he will open his beak, and that's kind of a silent bird instruction to kind of back away a bit.
Very nice. Brexton would like to know how old they were when they came to the zoo.
I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I know they were it takes them a while to be independent, so they stay in the nest cavity with mom for a couple months, and then even after they come out, the parents are going to feed them for a while, so they were definitely at least 2 years old, if not older.
Very good. And how long have we had these birds?
We have had these guys for about 12 years now.
That is cool. Alexa asks, do they like coconut?
We don't give them coconut. It's not part of their usual diet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very nice. Morgan wants to know, how warm is it in here for them?
So we keep the aviary at a pretty comfy 70 degrees, and we do have our own air handling system with the humidity and things like that. Our misting system helps keep the humidity up too. Yeah.
And can you tell Caden and Athena how you tell the male and the female apart again?
Yeah, so the male is bigger. He's the one on the left right now. His casque is a little bit bigger too. And also their eye color, that's the easiest way to tell. The boy has a dark red in his eyes and the girl's eyes are white.
And who's where right now, just
Yep.
to give them a good idea?
The boy is up a little bit higher on the left side of the exhibit and the girl's a little bit lower on the right side.
Very nice. And Haven age 3 wants to know how much they weigh.
How much they weigh? These two exactly, I don't know off the top of my head, but they can weigh up to 5.5 to 8 pounds.
Very good. Karen says the rhinoceros hornbills are her favorite bird in the aviary.
They're one of my favorites too, if not my favorite.
And Nicole asks, what do they do when they're bored?
When they're bored, well, bored is kind of a hard thing to describe in birds. They do rest a lot. We often say that the afternoon is kind of siesta hour, where they kind of just sit like this and chill out. But bored really isn't a thing in bird language.
Yeah, fair enough. And in the wild, do they make their own hole to nest in, or do they find some other animals to use?
So they won't steal another animals, but they'll use a hole that kind of, trees naturally kind of get cavities when they lose big branches and things like that. So they'll actually work and kind of carve out a hole from one that's already started. They don't steal it from other animals though.
And Amelia wants to know how big their babies are.
How big their babies are? Oh, I don't know about that one. I've never seen one. Maybe someday.
We'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
All right. And Heather asks, how do they get their color?
How do they get their color? Well, the colors on their feathers is kind of a genetic thing. That's just in their genes. But the really pretty colors on that casque is from oil that's underneath their tail. They actually kind of make it themselves. And as they rub their beak on it, it produces that color.
Very nice. And are they all black and white like this,
Yep.
or are there different colors?
This species is black and white. Yep. Yeah, different species have different colors. There's some yellows in there.
And Mary says, do they ever lose feathers?
They do. So birds are almost always losing feathers, like we're losing our hair all the time. They do go through a molt, which is when they lose all of their really big feathers, kind of one by one, so that they grow in new flight feathers and tail feathers, because those are really important for birds. So they are always losing them. We'll find those little downy, soft feathers all the time. But yeah, they lose their feathers all the time, but it's normal.
And how big is a single feather on them?
Oh, the biggest feathers are probably going to be the primary wing feathers. The longest ones are always on the end of the bird's wings, but I don't know off the top of my head. Probably about 2.5 feet.
All right. And that leads into Kyan's asking again about their wingspan, and you said it's about 4.5 to 6 feet, depending on the bird.
6 is going to be a really big boy, but yeah, yep.
All right. And Kenzie says, do they play together?
I wouldn't necessarily call it playing, but they do interact. They'll call in tandem because they're a pair, so that everybody knows this is their turf. They will actually feed each other too. And if you noticed a little while ago, the female kind of landed on a branch and shook it. That's a territorial display, but it's also something that they do together. So they kind of communicate like that.
Very good. And that leads right into Sienna's question. Do they talk?
Do they talk? I mean, they have their own language, of course, so they do talk, and not with English, but they can. They know what they're saying to each other. Like when they call with that bark call, they're telling everybody else to stay away. And they actually, when they feed each other, they'll make little noises and things like that. So in a way, they do.
Very nice. And that answers Alba's question of what noises do they make. That's very cool. All right, let's keep going here. Caitlin asks, what kind of shenanigans have they been up to since we've all been gone?
Nothing too crazy, I can tell you that. Of course, they're really big birds, so we are replacing their perching all the time in here because they're really big birds and they shake the tree branches and they use it to wipe their beak off and things like that. But they haven't gotten into any trouble.
And Karen says, what other animals do they get along with?
Just hornbills, pretty much. You might notice that they're the only birds in this exhibit. I mentioned that they're really territorial, so they don't really tolerate other birds near them.
Let's see here. Oh, there we go. I missed a question here. Rebecca wants to know, how often do you feed them?
They get fed every day. Yep.
And
usually once in the morning.
And can you tell them again how much they eat?
So the bowl's up there now, but they get about 7 cups of just pelleted food. That's a mix of a bunch of different things. And then they get about 5 cups of chopped fruit. So it's a lot.
They can eat quite a bit in one day.
That's a good shot of his wing. And they eat throughout the day too. So I feed them in the morning, but they eat in the morning and then they'll eat a couple times throughout the day. They'll go down and eat.
All right. And Dominic wants to know what all their diet consists of.
At the zoo, so that pelleted mix is something that you can see throughout the exhibits in the aviary. It's pellets, fruits, vegetables, greens. Sometimes we'll actually give them little baby mice as well. They're not live, of course, but they will eat those whole too. And then a lot of different kinds of fruits. I mentioned that their favorites are grapes and kiwi and banana and papaya, but they'll eat melon and figs and even avocado too, actually.
And you said they're not fond of citrus.
They are not fond of citrus.
Not into berries.
Not into berries so much.
All right. They are cute, Mandy. We think so too. All right, Carmen, we're going to end today. We want to know, what are your favorite birds and your favorite part of being a bird keeper here at the zoo?
Well, my favorites are probably either these hornbills, or I also really like parrots. So I like the macaws that are in the exhibit kind of on your other side there, and we have a couple other parrots that I really like. So either the hornbills or the parrots. I also really like the vultures, and I think you're doing a segment on one of our vultures soon, I think.
Coming up, yep. And what's the best part of your job?
Oh, I don't know. Working with the birds, probably. I also really like to talk to people. I'll talk people's ears off about birds all the time. But working with the birds, it's always something different. They're always teaching us new things, and we're always learning new behaviors and things from them. So every day is different.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Carmen, for all of this amazing information about these hornbills. We will be back on Monday with our weekday Facebook Lives, 10:30. Tune in and talk to us, learn a little something new, and be entertained for a few minutes. We hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you Monday.